Welcome back to the ZERT Coffee and Chaos podcast, the show where we talk about anything and everything relating to what it means to be a survivalist and a prepared individual in today's society. I'm your host, Chris Bartagone. With me, as always, my co-host, Jamie Franks. Jamie, welcome back to the show, my man.
Thanks. Good to be here as always. My voice is a little strained because I was taught a class yesterday, so I was
Very nice.
yelling and
Very
making it
nice.
fun. So
All right. All right. So was it all weekend class or just one day?
it's just a 1 day class, but I did do 2 this week. I taught one. We did a private class on like midweek, I can't remember if it was Tuesday or Wednesday. Like with the holiday, my days are all messed up.
Okay.
And then we did the normal, regularly scheduled weekend class.
Very nice. Very nice. I need to get some of that range time in my life again. It's funny just because a longtime ZERT member in Connecticut just reached out and he was commenting on another member's post about lack of training here in Connecticut. And um, quite a few years ago, we had a pretty awesome range here in Connecticut called King 33, and it allowed you to had a sim house, um, had a indoor 360-degree live fire range that you could drive a vehicle on, and it actually used to be called the ZERT Annex, and it
Hmm.
was something that members from the New England area used to travel to train at, and then they brought in the Troy's Gate system, which was another pretty awesome training tool. Um, and then that range closed down, and there's been nothing like it ever since in this area. At one point, I had access to a rock quarry here where
Hmm.
we were able to do some shooting and do some of that kind of stuff, but that also has not been available as of late. So I kind of reached out to a couple of people to try and find something here in Connecticut just to get just to get some shooting done. The
Yeah.
goal here is in a couple of years to turn the larger side of the back HQ area into a um, sim training center. We'll build a couple of rooms and we can do stuff like that. But that's going to be a couple of years down the road. But it is in the plans for the growth of ZERT here in Connecticut at HQ. But having a range would be great. If not, I have to travel down to Pennsylvania, which I will be doing soon to link up with Paul Taylor, Mr. X, and
Hmm.
we'll do some filming and do some drills and have a good old time. But heading the range is a great thing for people to do. You just got to make sure you have a couple of things when you head out to the range, right, Jamie?
That's true. You do need your range essentials. And
Range essentials. There it is.
you need to have the stuff that you need, but you also don't need a truckload of shit that you don't need. So yeah.
That's true. That's true. Now, so I know that obviously you drive a truck and you take a truck to the range, and I know that you have stuff in that truck, and I know that even Paul has. And now he may not have that right now because his range is on his property, but I know that when he traveled to set up one of our events a couple of years ago, he had a full truck full of stuff, and that's target stands and all of the things needed. But that's as an instructor, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I think that's different for somebody going to the range just to learn.
So yeah, as an instructor, like that's actually it's one of the things that I've actually been kind of proud of. I mean, I've been an instructor outside of the military for since 2013, so that's what's that 11 years now. Um and yeah, I've spent a lot of time and a lot of money selecting like high quality target stands and all that kind of stuff that break down really small, so it's not huge. So I don't need a tractor trailer truck. I can lay the seats down in my Subaru Outback or take my Toyota Tacoma, and everything fits nicely in there. And basically I can kind of, anywhere where I'm allowed to, I can pretty much set up a shooting range and a class and a training day, just out of the back of my car or truck. But for people to take a class, And for people just to go to the range on their own to train, you really don't need as much stuff as you think. Like if you go to my Instagram, I only have one post that's like pinned to the top of my Instagram. And it's like, what do you need to take a class? Because I've heard from students before that they think they need to make this huge investment in like all kinds of, that they need a special belt and they need a special gear and they need a special thing. And they like, you really don't. Like that's why I made that post, because like to show up and take a class, all you really need is like range appropriate clothing, like long pants, good shoes,
Right.
whatever's appropriate for the weather. You need a holster, you need some mag pouches, you need a gun, you need some magazines and bullets. And for a rifle, you need all the same stuff, but you need a rifle with a sling on it. And
Right.
and it's, you really, if you want to come and train in full combat equipment, you're more than welcome to do that, but it's not necessary. You don't
No.
need all that stuff to take a class and get the training benefit out of it. And then like, so what we're going to talk about today is what the things that I recommend you have in your range bag just to go to the range to train on your own. And again,
Sure.
it's not a huge investment. Like some of this stuff costs a little bit of money, but it's not a huge investment. And you made the point of, yes, I have stuff that always stays in my car. I have trauma kits and tourniquets and stuff that just stay in my car day to day. They're there in case I come across an accident or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
And so I do, just me, I do double down on that stuff. Yes, I have a trauma kit that stays in my car, but then as we'll talk about, like I also have a separate trauma kit that's part of my range bag, so that way I don't put it in my range bag and then forget to put it back in my car, or vice
Right.
versa. So
Right. So those things are in your vehicle regardless of whether you're going to the range to train or not. Those are everyday essential items, and
yeah,
we've talked about that before, and what you keep in your car. So I mean, this is going to kind of be a list of things that you bring to the range as a student or just as going to the range, but then also there's going to be some suggestions as to a starting off point if you're just starting to get into shooting, or this is your first time really going to the range and setting up a range bag. I think we're gonna probably talk about starting with a plan all the way down to making sure you have a Sharpie in your bag. So this is going to span a wide amount of topics, folks. So there's the Sharpie. Very,
it's on
very
my list.
important. Listen,
Yeah,
and
it is.
and not only a Sharpie, but a stapler.
Oh yeah. So one of the things that I've learned from being a shooting instructor in the military is I much, 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 much prefer the little spray glue in the can.
Sure.
Either
Right.
the Gorilla Glue spray or I forget who makes it. It's in that red can. It's just like I call it Spray 77.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's way better than a stapler. But yeah, stapler I guess is a little more cost effective. But
Well, I mean, it's definitely more cost effective, and what I noticed is because that's what we used last year when I took a couple of those training classes. I mean, there was a case of this spray glue there, right?
yeah,
Literally a case with a bunch of different cans, and you're sitting there and you're spraying, and the overspray is going everywhere. So I guess just be smart with it. And I mean, if you're not pasting 85 targets in a day, then just get a stapler,
it
a
takes a little
staple
bit of getting
gun,
used to.
right?
I guess we can go ahead and take this one off
But
the list. But yeah, it takes a little bit of getting used to use the spray glue. But one thing I found out, like running the classes in the military, is where I really got turned on to the spray glue,
sure.
because when you start the day, you have like your cardboard target backer. And
Yep.
so typically what we'll do is we'll put like the bigger size like paper target that kind of covers the whole target backer. And so when you spray glue that on, and then throughout the day, when you're adding more targets, we're adding dots, we're adding, paper
Right.
plates, whatever we're doing. If as you're spray gluing and gluing more targets, it actually makes the target more rigid and stronger. And it's like, if you don't do a good enough job, the wind can still do it. But like I said, once you got to have the technique down and you know what you're doing, I hate having to like call a ceasefire to go back down range and click, 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 click,
Yeah.
click
Yeah.
to restaple somebody's target with the
Yeah.
spray
You're right.
glue. If you know what you're doing, you very rarely have to do that.
Yeah.
So the spray glue costs a little bit more. I think it's like out here at Home Depot, it's like $8 for a can. And I usually use one whole can per class.
Sure.
So staples don't cost that much, but I mean, $7
Yeah.
for one can for what you're saving in time, not constantly having to go back down and restaple targets. I
Yeah.
like the spray glue, but again,
Listen.
that goes to the instructor piece. That's
Yeah.
that's
Well,
not
no,
like,
and that makes sense, right? So I guess if I'm waking up, it's a Saturday morning, I've got a range day planned with the senior chief. What is the first thing that I should grab for my range day? What is the first range day gear essential or range day essential? We won't even throw the word
well,
gear
so
on it.
if you're going to the range, everybody, you got to have a gun, you got to have bullets, you got to have ear pro, got to have eye pro. Like that's whatever on you, whatever gun you have, whatever kind of bullets you want to run.
Sure.
I will throw this out there that with pistol, I haven't found that it matters all that much, but when you're selecting your ammo, especially with rifle ammo, I definitely, we have it on our website for the classes that I teach. Like, I really highly recommend that you do not buy remanufactured rifle ammunition. With pistol,
Yeah.
it's fine, but a high percentage of incidents, I'll say, that I've seen with rifle has been remanufactured ammunition. So yeah, but whatever gun you got, whatever ammo you got, eye pro, ear pro, whatever you want to use, but you need targets. So that was
Sure. Now,
good.
well, let me ask you a question. So
Okay.
does this list differ if you are going to take a class with an instructor or just going to the range by yourself or with a couple of friends?
When I made this list, this is, you should buy a range bag, and this basically should be all the stuff in it. And then this is what you should take to the range to have a successful day of training, not for a class. When you show up for a class, really all you need is the stuff I just listed. You need a gun, you need bullets, you need clothing, you need eye pro, ear pro, and as a capable and competent instructor, I'm basically going to provide pretty much everything else that you need.
Right.
So this is if you want to go to the range to actually have a productive training day, like you said, either by yourself or with a couple of friends. These are kind of the essentials that you need, and and get all this stuff and put it in a bag and leave it. And then when you decide you want to go to the range, all you got to do is grab your bag, throw it in the car. Like,
Got it.
you don't have to play scavenger hunt around your garage. So
Yep. Awesome. Okay.
So the first thing I was about to jump into, because we talked, obviously you got to bring your gun, got to bring your bullets, you got to be wearing clothes, and you got to have eye pro, ear pro.
Right.
Targets. So one thing I wanted to point out, you don't have to spend a whole bunch of money buying targets. If you do, targets can get expensive unless you buy them in like huge bulk. So I've become a fan of, even for teaching classes, I guess you could call them improvised targets, but I mean, you're going to shoot holes in it with a gun. So does it really matter?
Right.
Do I need to spend a whole bunch of money going to, Tactical Guy's website and buying this, target that he pre-printed that has all these targets on it, and he wants to sell you what is basically a giant sheet of paper for $8 per sheet. There's places online where you can go and print out targets for free. My friend Mark, he's a fellow instructor here in Southern California, First Defense USA. He has all the classes, the drills that he does during his class, and you can go to his website and print those targets out for free. And he describes the drill, so you can print these targets and practice the drills on your own. There's other websites like Lucky Gunner. They have some really fun targets that like you can play with your friends. Like they have like a tic-tac-toe shooting target, and you guys can play tic-tac-toe with your guns, to practice your marksmanship. And they have all kinds of stuff like that. There's a website called Targets. It's TARGETZ, targets.com. And they just have like a whole bunch of just different like bullseye targets and like little 2-inch dot targets like this.
There's another website that has targets too, and comes with a couple of drills, fancy drills, and you can earn stuff with it.
Is it
NSS?
Is it what's that? It's right on the tip of my tongue. Yeah,
it's right there.
We're talking about ZERT. But yeah,
So one of the things that we and just to go back to when we were doing it, the instructor used paper plates.
yeah, I was gonna say that, like, paper plates make a great. I have them right here because, like, in the Navy, we do all our high speed. Like, for those that don't know, I used to actually. I am not a Navy SEAL. Have never been a Navy SEAL. Will never be a Navy SEAL. But I did actually used to teach the shooting courses for SEALs and EOD guys, and all of our shooting standards, like for like our pistols, there's a whole list of drills. We call them the operator standards drills. But for most of those standards, it's a 7-inch dot at 7 yards. Well, again, I can go to this, the website where where the Navy actually orders the .7 targets, or I can go to my local grocery store, and this is a perfect 7-inch paper plate, and I get 50 of them for like $1.25 in this little pack. And these make a great shooting target. And then again, with the spray glue, you just glue one on top of the other throughout the day, and it makes a great target. So Post-it notes are another one. Post-it notes are one of my favorites.
Sure. Do you think that targets train students to focus on where the hole is on the paper? You know what I mean? Like like you just said, right? You know where if there's a circle up here, a square up there. I mean, there's times when you're obviously trying to put all the rounds through one of those small areas, but when you get the standard silhouette target with the X ring and the 10, 9, 8, I mean, do you feel it just gives students the wrong thing to focus on?
No, I mean that's the importance of why you need to take a class with a qualified instructor that knows what he's talking about. Because in my classes, I always say that the number one mistake that I see shooters of all levels make, a person who's never shot a gun before, all the way up to very high level military and competition shooters, like shooters at all levels, the number one mistake that I see people make is they shift their focus from the sights to the target, whatever the target may be. If you're shooting with iron sights, you need to be front sight focus. With now red dots becoming a little bit more prolific, or is that the right word? Widespread anyway, with more people having red dots in their pistols. You are supposed to be target fixated. That's why a lot of people say that that's a good idea for law enforcement, because instead of focusing on your front sights, you are able to focus on what, again, in the law enforcement example, like what a suspect is doing with his hands or whatever, because you are supposed to actually be focused on the target and then superimpose the red dot over it. But yeah, that's a training scar, because shot placement is important. You do need to be able to precisely, put that little hole in the paper where you want it on purpose. But if you're shooting an iron sight gun like I do, you need to be focused on your sights, and you kind of need to be able to walk that line of speed and accuracy, and when do you need to be precise and when you don't. Like if I'm shooting a 7-inch dot, I really don't want a perfect little dime size group in the center of the target. I want to go faster, because if I'm training to shoot people, like either in combat or in self-defense, I want to put holes all in you. I don't want to miss, but I want to put holes all over the place. I'm not going to slow down and put a little dime-sized group in the center of your chest. I'm going to shoot you all over. So, when you're doing like combat shooting drills, 7-inch target, anywhere on that blade is literally good enough. Then when you want to, like, there's a drill that I do that I recommend. I call it the speed up and slow down drill. And it has a 7-inch dot on the bottom, and then like a small little 2-inch by 2-inch square above it. And so you draw and put 2 rounds in the 7-inch dot as fast as you can, and then you have to slow down and get that fine marksmanship shot.
Okay. And so and those items you can pick up on the grocery store on the way to the range. I mean, you don't need to order it like online. So I like that. And again, it takes up a lot less room than the big, giant sheets for the targets. Plus,
and if you work in a place that has like a printer or copier, like then this kind of becomes free. This is one of the targets from First Defense USA. This is the 1 reload 5 drill, and this one, I was going to talk about this one later on. That this is the infamous dot torture drill sheet, but dot torture is actually, that's a really good. It's designed to be 50 rounds, which a box of pistol ammunition comes in a box of 50, and that's a great way to spend 50 rounds is doing that dot torture drill. What you just said, I have this little thing, this little expandable accordion file.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And it's full of targets, all different kinds of targets for all different kinds of drills. And this thing goes to the range with me every single time I go to the range, whether I'm going by myself or whether I'm going to teach a class. So I've invested a little bit of time and a little bit of the government's copier toner and made this whole thing with like a million targets in there that takes up no space. So and then that kind of brings me to the next thing, and I tell everybody that other than bringing a gun and ammo and all that stuff, the most important thing to bring with you to the range is a plan. You need to bring a plan for what you're going to train on. And the example I always give of this is person that doesn't know any better, that goes to like an indoor range or whatever, and they spend a whole bunch of money buying, quite honestly, overpriced range ammunition. And then they go onto the range and they load their gun and they just stand there and go pow, 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 until they're either out of time or out of money. And then they go home and they've spent a whole bunch of money. They've spent several hours of their time and they've really not learned anything. They haven't done anything. They haven't learned anything. So I always recommend taking a class with a good instructor, and then whatever you take away from that class, you should walk away from that class with a list of things that that now this class has exposed that you need to get better at. You need to get faster at the draw. You need to get faster at picking up your sights. You need to get faster on your follow through and taking that follow-up shot. Whatever it is, you need to get better on anticipating your recoil. And so you can tailor your drill sets to whatever thing you want to work on today. So go to the range and say, today I want to get better at X.
Right. Now, I'm going to just expand on that, right? Okay. For anybody listening, if you are not fortunate enough to have an outdoor range where you can shoot and move and draw from a holster, and you can only go to a flat range, I mean, there is still, I think, something that you can take away from that, right? For sure, Jamie, what you just said is, if you just go and you buy a box of range ammo and you go and you put your target out 7 yards and you just sit there and unload and try and blow out the center of the target just so you can have a good group. I mean, that's great and all, but you can use that flat range to
take a selfie. Don't forget, you got to
take a selfie, right? But you can use that flat range to zero an optic, zero your rifle. If you are using a red dot, you can always confirm or reconfirm that you are zeroed. So there are definitely things that you can do on a flat range, but yes, you can't work on your draw, and you cannot work on some of those things speed wise, but you can focus on some of the fundamentals. I think that's something to kind of that's something to definitely highlight about this episode.
Yep. And like I always recommend, and I always do this myself, I'm not just talking out of the side of my mouth, like you always want to do a cold skills on demand drill. So a proper cold skills on demand drill, like I do the now drill, you can do the 1R5. Again, like Mark at First Defense, he came up with a good drill. It's called a cold start. It's very like one of the standards we do, like with the SEAL teams and stuff. It's called the ORT, the Operator Readiness Test. So that takes 20 rounds. Okay. Mark came up with a version, I believe, that only takes 6 rounds. It's a cold start drill, but it still tests all the same skill sets. But the importance of a cold skills on demand drill is you have not warmed up, and trust me, warming up is a real thing. Like if you make me shoot a drill cold and then give me a couple of minutes to like warm up and practice a little bit and then have me shoot it again, there's a good chance I'll literally do it twice as well. Yesterday in the class I taught, our cold skills drill, I shot it in 8 seconds the first time I ran it. At the end of the day, we ran it again. I shot it 5 seconds. Like, warming up is a real thing. But at 3 a.m, when somebody kicks in your front door, you're not going to have a warm up.
Right.
So that's what, like, cold skills really is a good tool to show you. And that's what I always tell the students too. It's not to show me. You're not trying to impress me. You need a graded target at a time standard so that you can actually make a measured assessment of where you currently are. And then the next time you go to the range, you do it again. And now you have a measured assessment on a scored target and a time standard. And you can know for a fact whether you're getting better or worse. So cold skills on demand drill, the now drill is an example of that. The 1R5, the cold start, the ORT, those are all cold skills drills. But as far as taking a plan, I always say do one cold skills on demand drill and then tailor your drill sets to whatever you want to get better at. But I always like to make the point that, again, one box of 50 rounds of ammo. If I do, let's say I do the 1R5 drill, I take to the range with me one box of 50 bullets. I can do the 1R5 drill. That's 6 bullets. Okay. So
Right.
now I've got 44 left. I can do 10 rounds of 1R1. That's 20 bullets.
Which
and
is a
then
drill.
I can,
Right.
one reload
So,
one.
Yep.
And then I can do that still leaves me 24 bullets, if my math is correct. I can do 8 rounds of the speed up and slow down drill that I talked about a second ago. And if I do a cold skills on demand drill, 10 1R1s, and 8 speed up and slow down drills, I've gotten more training value out of that person that's next to me on the range that bought 200 rounds of range ammo that's just standing there going pow, 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 pow.
Now, those drills that you just outlined can be done on a flat range.
Yep, 100%.
Without a holster. Now, the only
Better
thing that
with a
you
holster,
will exactly, definitely better with a holster, definitely better if you can draw and work that part out of, because if you are carrying a firearm every day, you are carrying it in a holster. So you need to understand what that does, right? But and again, with some of those things, there are some ranges where they are maybe sticklers about rapid fire or this, that, and the other thing. They're out there. Just obviously check with your local ranges before you do any of this. And I'm sure if you communicate with the RSO or even the guy who is running the store, owns it, I'm sure you'll be fine. But
so I mean, that's a, speaking of ranges, like a lot of the ranges out here have actually warmed up quite a bit, especially I think because, again, like more people are getting their CCWs and more people are getting training than they did in the past. And I also think like like the old man in the gun store, the guys that look like the 70-year-old version of Walter Sobchak from The Big Lebowski, like those guys are kind of starting to fall off, and they're being replaced with guys that that are our age.
Sure.
And so like a couple of the ranges out here, there's a couple of the indoor ranges out here where as long as they know you have some training and they just kind of watch you and they can see that you're not being an idiot, they'll let you draw from a holster. And then there's a couple of ranges where like you have to take their little class first. So you just have to go there like on a Thursday night and take their little 1-hour class, and then you can draw from a holster at that range or whatever. There's also places like I think it's in Florida. I follow them on Instagram because the Wiseman Tactical guys and Lunar Concepts guys go to this range and train. It's called JTAC Ranch, and it's like you can rent out these range bays, and it's almost like CrossFit meets shooting range, and you can incorporate like all these kind of like fitness challenges and endurance challenges into your shooting, and they let you shoot and move and go forward and go back and dodge, duck, dive, dip, and dodge. And I would like to see that kind of stuff spread a little bit more, and because I think that place is owned like by a younger guy like me that that
makes sense.
Doesn't have old man syndrome. But yeah, absolutely check with your range. But a lot of these drills, like I said, it's better if you can do it from the holster, because in real life you're probably going to be going from a holster. But most of this stuff can be done without a holster. So.
Right. And just understand also, like if you do get the ability to train on a range and take some of these classes. I mean, one of the classes that I took last year was an EDC class. So they said, basically, bring what you would bring when you're normally carrying. And I carry appendix. So I ran that whole entire class all day from appendix. And I know that there was a lot of that going around. I mean, there were certain instructors that wouldn't let you use an appendix holster, but hey man, if that's how you're carrying, then you better
So
understand how to do that.
yeah, not to get too far off our topic.
Right.
Like
I don't want to do that
just
either.
on my Instagram today, I posted a video of what's his name from Wilson Combat, the old guy.
Yep.
Old man Wilson. I forget
Yep.
his first name. Because he makes a good point about your carry gun doesn't need to have all this shit on it. You don't need to have a compensator and a light and a laser and a red dot and a 26 round magazine and all this other shit. But then like 2 days ago, I also saw a video of the same guy like, all you young whippersnappers don't need to be carrying appendix because when you put your gun back in your appendix holster, you're pointing it at your wiener and you're never supposed to point a gun at anything you don't want to destroy. And that's just one of the universal rules. So people shouldn't be appendix carrying. But like
Wow.
at my school, at ASDS, Active Shooter Defense School here in San Diego, a few years back, we partnered with a Krav Maga gym and we did some classes that were shooting and combatives like mixed into one. And so one of the things we did was we, with a clear gun, not with ammo, but we tested all the different concealed carry positions. And like, if you get into a physical fight that now escalates to gunfight territory, what is the best place on your body to have your gun? And I found out that having the gun appendix is like most of the time, if I'm in a fight and I've been taken down to the ground, or if somebody grabs me from behind, or if somebody puts me in a chokehold, or if I'm in a car with a seatbelt on, whatever, appendix makes sense. So I mean, like I said, like some of these
some of the, I mean, again, it's all exactly. But the point being is, if you're going to go to the range, make sure that, like you said, Jamie, that doing this from a holster is better than without a holster, but doing it without a holster is way better than not doing it at all. So, and again, that comes to having a plan, right? Just don't show up. So what else is one of, obviously, eyes and ears. We don't need to go all into that, but what are some of the other things?
All right. So the first thing, because it is important, I'll reemphasize it again. I just said it a minute ago. It is important when you're shooting drills, do drills that address a specific skill, and you need to shoot it on a scoreable target, and you need to do it to a time standard. So one of the best things that you can spend your money on, if you are a serious person that is serious about training and getting better, is a shot timer. The two that I would recommend, because they're the two most common ones that I have seen, and you can like beat the shit out of these things and they're still going to run. I bought this one that's in my hand right now. I bought it in 2009, and I've had however many years ago that was, and it still works fine. Let's see. Oh, that's on delay, so it's going to take a second, but there it goes.
There it is.
But this is the Pact Timer. This is the Pact Club Timer 2 or whatever. It's PACT. This one and the other one that I see people with, it's the blue one. It looks like a miniature blue VCR. That's the Pocket Pro timer. So the two that I would recommend are the Pact Timer and the Pocket Pro. Just to be perfectly honest, is one better than the other? In my experience, they both work fine. At a lot of matches, I see them using the Pocket Pro. And then to be completely transparent and honest, the reason I bought this one is because the very first time I ever used a shot timer in my life, I was shooting with JJ Rakaza and Blake Miguez, and this is the timer that they had. And so I said, oh, well, if that's the timer they have, then that's the one I need to have. So, but I now have two of these because I have two different range bags. So I keep one in each range bags, and these do run about $150. So this is a little bit of an investment, but as far as an actual tangible training tool, I think a shot timer is one of the best possible things you can spend your money on if you're serious about training. So,
I agree. Shot timer is on the list.
Bring extra batteries for your shot timer also, because these don't really give you any notice that the battery's going dead. Like you can have the same battery in here for 4 years, and then shot timers start doing really weird stuff when the battery gets low. So make sure you have extra batteries too.
But and here's going to be my 2 cents to this entire episode. Have extra batteries for everything. in
Oh, that was at the end
your
of my list.
range.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. Look at that. But I mean, if you're wearing electronic ear pro, have batteries for it. If you're wearing, anything like that, make sure you have batteries. I mean, there's nothing worse than having electronic ear pro and then you got nothing. Batteries for your red dot, for your flashlight, all of that. I mean, that should just be a staple in your range bag, in your everyday carry bag, your get home bag, batteries. But
Yep.
okay. What's next?
Yeah. So we got so we talked about having a trauma kit and tourniquets and all that stuff, and that stuff is great and it's sexy. And in my range bag, I always like to point this out. So I'm sorry, Chris. Nothing I'm talking about. I'm not sponsored by any of these companies. This is all the stuff that I actually use that I have found that works really well and whatever. And it's the stuff I recommend because I actually use it. Nobody is paying me to endorse any of these products. So I love these. This is the ETA trauma kit. This is from ITS Tactical. This is like the most perfect, like one-stop, like compact trauma kit.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That I've ever like. This is so I think I have 3 of these because I have one of these in my little med pouch on each of my war belts or battle belts, whatever you call it. And then I have one of these that stays in the range bag. But this thing is awesome. It has a quick clot gauze, a chest seal, a decompression needle, NPA, pressure dressing, a compressed gauze, and a pair of nitrile gloves. So what did I not say in that list? It rhymes with Murniquet.
Oh, a tourniquet.
Yeah, so this doesn't have a tourniquet in it, but I actually like that because, in my opinion, your tourniquet should be separate from your trauma kit anyway, because when you need a tourniquet, you need a tourniquet right meow. And you don't need to be fishing for this thing and ripping it open and pulling stuff out to try to find the tourniquet. You need to have your tourniquet separate from this anyway. And that's why I actually like the fact that this doesn't have one, because then somebody can't buy this and go, oh, yeah, good to go, throw it in the bag. Now when they need a tourniquet and they need it within the next 30 seconds, they're trying to find this. And then they're ripping into this thing and trying to find it. So you do need a tourniquet, but I like this because it forces you to buy a separate tourniquet and have it separate. So, but this is a trauma kit. Trauma kit's good. You need training to use a trauma kit, but honestly, this is one of the few instances where I would say, even if you don't have training to use a trauma kit, bring one anyway, because somebody else there might need it. And also, you might be the one that's trained to use the trauma kit, and you might be the one that has the trauma kit, but you also might be the one that's shot, and somebody else that's there needs to use your trauma kit on you. So that trauma kit is cool and high speed and sexy, trauma kit and tourniquet. But also, I just call this the little boo-boo kit. So I have always carried a trauma kit with me to the range, and I've used it 0 times. But I've always had my little boo-boo kit, and I've used this a million times. So the boo-boo kit is not as sexy as the trauma kit, but I've used this one a million times more often. It just has Band-Aids, the little gauze pads, the little alcohol wipes, the athletic tape, like just stuff for boo-boos. Because again, I taught a class yesterday, and I have like little tiny cuts all over my fingers now from the staple gun and from loading mags and from picking up stuff out of the dirt and from setting up target stands. So trauma kit is super high speed and awesome and cool, and it definitely does have a place, but you also need boo-boo kit.
Right. Okay. All right. So a couple medical things there. Yeah. What's next on that list?
So gloves. So this is one of the other like non-sexy things, but like I have the benefit.
So I mean, and where I'm going with that is because some people bring gloves to the range, but again, my question is, do you wear gloves every single day? And I think we discussed that in Oklahoma. Like, do you always shoot with gloves, or do you sometimes shoot with gloves? But
I am a firm believer that you either need to shoot with gloves 100% of the time or 0% of the time, nothing in between. And people say, well, what if I live in a place where it's hot in the summer, it's cold in the winter? Like, they now make these like tactical hand warmer things, like even for like soldiers and cops, so that you don't have to shoot with gloves on. I practice what I preach. You either shoot with gloves 100% of the time or never. I never, ever, 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 ever shoot with gloves unless I'm shooting with a machine gun, an actual machine gun, and I do Michael Jackson and I wear a glove on my support hand only, and that's because I've been burned by machine guns so many times that I don't want to get burned by machine guns anymore.
Is it silver and sparkly?
It's not. It's actually
Okay.
this one. That's so I have the benefit, admittedly, of the Uncle Sam like giving me like pretty nice stuff. So I have
Okay.
these Oakley gloves that I have like worn. Shoot, I can't even guess how long I've had these, but these are super awesome. But I also brought these because these are also super awesome and they're super cheap. They're these little they're these gloves that are like made out of fabric, but like the palm of them is like this rubber.
Rubber. Yeah.
So
Okay.
the reason gloves are on my list is not for shooting. I do not shoot in gloves. But when
Okay.
you're setting up steel targets and taking down steel targets and you're
Okay.
setting up target stands and the little stick, the little wood sticks that you staple the
Yeah.
target backer to, there's like little staples that are sticking out, there's splinters in the wood.
Sure.
If you're using steel targets, after you shoot a steel target, that target is going to be covered in lead dust.
Yep.
When you're picking up brass at the end of the day, the brass is covered in lead dust. You're running your fingers through dirt that's
Right.
inundated with lead dust, all that stuff. And that actually is a thing that I take very seriously because of the frequency that I'm exposed to it. So I try to do whatever I can to mitigate it. But also,
Sure.
again, kind of going back to the boo-boo kit, like I don't want splinters and little cuts and shit all over my hand. So
Yeah, that makes
I
sense.
always have just a pair of gloves to pick stuff up, or sorry, set stuff up, take stuff down, pick up brass, all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And you don't need super high speed tactical Oakley gloves like I have. You can get these ones. I got these from the auto parts store. You get them in like a pack of 10 for like $10.
Right.
Also, when you're using the spray glue, when you're using the spray paint to paint your targets, then you don't get paint and glue all over your hands and all over your watch, and then it gets all over your gun and
Right.
all that.
Yep.
So gloves, but gloves not
Okay.
for shooting.
Got it. Okay. So there it is. That's what the gloves are for, and that's why I said, and I think that's kind of exactly what we were aligned on that one. Uh,
Yeah.
I hate wearing gloves even for riding, like, riding the motorcycle. It just,
Yeah.
I guess maybe I'm a tactile person. I need to have actual fingers on it and not through gloves. I mean, I absolutely hate it. So makes a lot of sense. But coincidentally, I do have a pair of gloves in the range bag for just some of those things that you just talked about.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. What else is on that list?
Tools.
Ooh,
and
good one.
and this is something that's really easy to go overboard with, and it's also something that's actually really easy to do on the cheap.
Yeah.
Nowadays, one of the things that I like is if I buy a scope mount, it comes with the little Allen wrench that you need for that scope mount. Or like if you buy a LaRue tactical mount, it comes with that little LaRue tactical wrench. If you buy
Yep.
a mag weld that goes on the bottom of your pistol, they send you the little wrench that you need to install it. So you can take an Altoids tin, and as you buy all these things for your guns and for your equipment, and you buy a Safariland holster and it comes with a little Allen wrench that you need to adjust the screws, like throw all of those in an Altoids can and put that in your range bag, and then you're going to have all the Allen wrenches that you need for your stuff, because these wrenches came with the stuff that
Your
you
stuff.
put on
Yeah.
your gun. So
Yeah.
you can make a little toolkit basically for free now, because all
Yeah.
these manufacturers are including the little Allen wrenches that you need. Now, beyond that, I have two things here.
And there might be, in that tin, two of the exact same thing. So just,
Yeah.
make sure. But go ahead.
There's a company that I can't remember how I found them, but I found them like mid 2000s, like 2006, 2007. It's a company called MultiTasker Tools, and they basically make little multi tools. It's almost like a Leatherman or a Gerber. I'll see if you can see the little logo there.
No, can't see that. That's all right. We'll link it down below.
But it's MultiTasker Tool. So this is like a multi-tool, but it's gun specific. Everything that comes out of here is gun specific. Like that's a little like carbon scraper, and then it has like the little you pull this out, and it's the punch that you need for a Glock. This is a front sight adjustment tool. This is that thing I was just talking about, like the little LaRue tactical wrench and a little spanner wrench. So it's a gun specific multi-tool. I carry this on my range bag, which I was going to talk about in a second. I have a little cleaning kit. It's in a little
Okay.
pouch, and my MultiTasker tool stays on the pouch with the cleaning kit. And so this just lives in my range bag.
Yep.
And I'll be honest, most of the time when I take this to the range, this cleaning kit and gun specific multi-tool, who am I bringing it for, Chris?
Well, not always you, not only
for me.
you.
Yeah, right. But like most of the time, it's kind of like on the front of my Tacoma, I have a winch. I've only used the winch for myself once. I've used the winch to pull out other people a million times. So so this is kind of the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, having a cleaning kit is always great to have because, you know, in reality, you want to clean your firearm when it's done, but there's also going to be times when somebody else's firearm, because we're all perfect and we always have a clean firearm, so we don't ever need it. We're not going to have issues on the range. But, you know, that person who doesn't clean may have a jam and you may need to clean a firearm. I mean, I've seen it multiple times.
Well, so the cleaning kit that I bring, and basically the main reason why I bring it is because my cleaning kit has like the actual like military cleaning rods in it. So now you see a lot of cleaning kits that have the little pull through things that you like, the bore snake or whatever it is. But you can't clear that actually is good for cleaning the barrel, but you can't clear a squib round with it. So with the rods, you can. And so the main reason why I bring a cleaning kit is for two reasons. One, because it has rods in it and I can clear a squib round from my barrel or somebody else's. And then also like people that have just bought like a brand new gun, or maybe they didn't just buy it. Maybe this is the first time they're bringing it to the range and the gun is just as dry as chalk. And so, my cleaning kit, I'll have a little bit of lube that I can use on it. But yeah, also, just since you just brought it up, it's actually and this is just my opinion. It's a bad idea to clean your guns after you go to the range. Certainly it would be a dumb idea to clean them at the range. But if you go to the range and you shoot your gun and your gun is working perfectly fine, 100% confirmed that my gun is working perfectly fine, why would I bring it home, take it completely apart, clean it, fuck with it, and then put it back together? And now I don't know if it's going to work. If it was working 100% fine at the range and I just bring it home and leave it alone, I know that it's 100% confirmed that this gun is functional. When people bring their guns home and they take them apart and a little detent pin shoots across the room, and now they're putting it back together with pieces missing that they don't even know are missing or whatever. I always tell my students, you shot your gun here today. You know for a fact that your gun works. Don't take it home and take it apart. Leave it alone. If it works now, it'll work later if you need it. All right. But another tool, this is also by MultiTasker Tools. This is called their Twist tool.
That brand. Yep. I remember that brand.
I had to pull this one out of my plate carrier because I actually have this one in my plate carrier, but it's about the size of a Sharpie marker, but it has on top, it has the little aim point optic adjustment tool. And you can also get the one with the Trijicon version if you have Trijicon instead of that. And then that's the little pocket clip is actually a flathead screwdriver. I'm having a hard time showing it. Then this has the little magnetic like bit driver. So like the bit that I have in there right now is the front side adjustment tool, but it'll take any like the magnetic hex bits. Yeah. And then you unscrew the other side. And it has a little punch, a little little scribe, and so this is a very useful, super basic tool. Like I said, I keep this one in my plate carrier. And then the other one that I actually just found last year before, I'd never heard of these guys before. These ones are a little bit expensive, and I bought this mainly again for instructor purposes, so I can take this to the range and fix other people's stuff that they brought that's not properly prepared. This is the toolkit from Fix-It Sticks.
Fix-It Sticks. I was going to ask you if that was it.
And this thing is awesome sauce, but I will throw out the disclaimer that it is a little bit expensive.
It is,
but
it does have a lot.
Students in my classes, like especially like just real quick, like these ones are actually like little miniature torque wrenches. They have preset torque values on them and stuff. And so students that show up with their super high speed, awesome pistols with red dots on them and stuff, but they didn't properly install the red dot on it. Like, this kit has everything I need to like fix their gun for them so their red dot doesn't fall off and all that stuff. So these kits are awesome. You can they have several different levels of kits, so you can get one that's as big or as small as you want. They are a little bit expensive, but man, they are, you get what you pay for. I'll just put it that way.
But and so I think just kind of to sum that up, I mean, like you said, you can go from just enough for what you have in your bag, right? I mean, you know what gun you're bringing to the bag or bringing to the range, so you can keep that in. And then you can add on, or like what you just said, I think what you're looking at as kind of from the instructor level, you need to fix multiple students' issues throughout the day. So I think that's I like that. I like that you covered the spectrum of what you can go as just an individual to if you are going to be the Mr. Fix It for the day. So awesome.
All right. Now we're getting into the super exciting stuff.
Oh boy.
You need a notepad and a pen. Because if you are okay.
No, but let me ask, is that just range specific or should that be part of your everyday kit?
I actually, because I don't fanboy very hard for very many people, but I fanboy all over Grantham. I really have yet to disagree with him on anything. And I'm the smartest person I know, so the fact that that I agree with him on everything so far, I mean, speaks very highly for him. But no, but no, like honestly, he and I share kind of the same. I mean, we're not friends or anything. I don't know him, but like I agree with most of his assessments, and like he seems to think about things mostly the same way I do. And Grantham himself, in one of the episodes, I think it was one of the ones where he was just going through his kit and like, oh, I've got this helmet and I've got this plate carrier, and he says the most important piece of tactical gear is your pen and paper. So yeah.
And it's funny because in this back pocket, I carry this Right in the Rain notebook, and in this front pocket, I carry this Fisher Space Pen. I've been doing that for a long time. Now, does that mean that that's the same one that's in the range bag? No, but I think you're very, very, you nailed it right there. Like, it's probably one of the most important things, just to if you're taking a class, to document or write down things that are important for the class, but also if you're just doing your own stuff, you're taking down notes as to what your times are and stuff like that you're using the timer for. So go ahead. Sorry.
And so, no, you're good. Yeah, but pen and paper, I laughed a second ago because that exact Fisher Space Pen, the one that kind of looks like a suppository because it's like rounded on both ends. I had one of those that and I finally broke it, but I had it I bet I had that thing for over 10 years, and it was black when I got it, but most of the finish had like completely worn off of it, and it was almost gold when I got. But you're supposed to like take it apart because it like the cap comes off and you put the cap on the end, and that makes it long enough to write with, and then you take it back and put it back, and it becomes the suppository again. I just quickly I was writing with it, and I just quickly stuck it back in my pocket, like with it still in the long configuration. And then when I sat down, it just bent it and ruined it. But those are good pens. But so like notebook and pen, and then that kind of plays into the Sharpie too, because now when I buy Sharpies, I buy the ones that's like the marker on one end and the fine point on the other, and you get 2 in 1. And so if you're ever in a high-rise building on Christmas Eve that's taken over by German terrorists, you can use the Sharpie to like write intel on your arm. You can like Sharpies are good in medical emergencies. Seriously, like like if we give morphine to somebody out, in combat, we take our Sharpie and we write it on their forehead. If you put a tourniquet on, you're supposed to write what time you applied the tourniquet, so it can write on skin, it can write on sweaty skin, it can write on targets. But the reason you want to bring a pen and a notebook is if you're sighting in a rifle and you're making a dope card.
Yep.
or just collecting your data. You can write that stuff down. Like for my precision rifles, I like to track how many rounds I've put through the barrel. So I log all that stuff down, how many bullets I shot through this gun today and what type of ammo was it. If I'm doing drills that I want to keep track of, that I want to keep track of my time and my score. And so I can
Yes.
gauge if I'm doing better or worse. If I forgot something, if I had my timer and I had spare batteries, but then I had to put the spare battery in the timer. Now I need basically a shopping list to tell me that I need to like replenish my range bag with more spare batteries. So there's 100 different reasons why it's a good idea to have a notebook and a pen in your range bag, and the pen, in my opinion, should be a Sharpie. And if you get the one that's the fine point on one end and the marker on the other, it's money time.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Good deal.
And then the other things that I had here, just to round out the list, I'll save the one thing for last, but we kind of already hit it. You know, a roll of tape, like, and I find like masking tape is the best. Yep. Masking tape, number one, you can actually, if you're in a pinch, you can use that to make a target. You can use it to cover your holes in the target so that you don't have to keep changing your target. You can just tape over the holes, and you can reuse the same target over and over. The spray glue, the stapler, we already talked about that. One of the things, it's D, the number D lead wipes.
Yes.
And they're these wipes that are specially formulated to clean your hands and remove and neutralize lead dust off your hands. And again, that's something that as I start to get older, and I've probably been exposed to a higher concentration of lead dust than most people. So that's one of the main drivers why I wear gloves. And then I have those D-lead wipes to wipe myself off. Like when I take a break during my range day because I'm eating and I have lead dust on my fingers, then I
100%
grab my beef jerky with my fingers, and then I put beef jerky in mouth, and now I have lead dust in my mouth. And then, like, one of the things people do, just to throw this out there, one of the most porous places on your body is your scalp. And so I've had to stop several students from doing this because they think they're doing it to be faster and more efficient. They'll use their hat to pick up brass, and they'll put the brass in their hat and then dump it into, like, you know, the guy on the other side has the bucket. So I don't want to walk all the way over there to the bucket. So I'll just use my hat and put all the brass in my hat, and then I'll walk over there and dump it all in the bucket. Don't do that, because then you're going to have lead dust in your hat, and then it's going to get into your scalp, which is one of the most porous places of your body. But those D-lead wipes are great. They're pretty cheap. They're not expensive. They're not any more expensive than like the Clorox wipes, but that's a great thing specifically to have for your range bag. And then the last thing that I've got, one more thing, and then the last thing. To me, it's always a good idea just to have extras, because there
we go. That's
oftentimes it's not fun to go to the range by yourself. It's better to go with somebody. So having like an extra pair of glasses, an extra, you know, like I think I have a little thing right here. It's just this extra little
thing of earplugs, tons
box of the disposable earplugs, the Howard Light disposable earplugs, and just like extra little stuff like that. If you're taking like your wife or girlfriend to the range, they might not have the grip strength to get that, you know, 17th round into the Glock mag. So, you know, you can have your little loader thing.
Now listen, hold on. I'm gonna just chime right in on this one. The moment you start using those, I think they're called up lulas or the mag lulas, whatever those things are, for load mags. Whew, man. I mean, you know, we all want to sit there and just jam mags all day, but the moment you use one of those things, I mean, game changer. I highly recommend having one of those in your bag. Whether it's for pistol, whether it's for rifle. I mean, you know, speed loaders
I'm going to tell you,
efficient.
One of my biggest fears in life is that people are waiting on me. I do not ever want people waiting on me. So at a competition, 100% of the time when I'm shooting a competition, I use the maglulas, the up lula, whatever it is, and like load my mags as quickly as I can. And that's because I'm terrified by the thought that somebody might be waiting for me. But the only thing I'll say against them is you do need to know how to load your mags without those things. Those things
Oh,
can be a
oh
big
yeah.
help, like when I'm trying to
Yeah.
go fast. But
Yeah. Of course.
like when I teach classes and stuff, I do emphasize the importance specifically of women to or people that don't have really good grip strength. You need to figure out how to load your mags without using one of those things.
So just to kind of go back, I mean, the community of ZERT is all people that are prepared individuals, and I hope that when we sit here and we talk about these things, there's that famous saying, right? And it's not mine. It's something I've always understood and knew and passed on is one is none and two is one, right? Or two is one is none. So I have a pair of iPro with me, and I also have a second pair of iPro in my bag. I have my Ear Pro, and I have a secondary pair of Ear Pro. It may not be another set of electronics, but should it go down and it not be a battery, then you don't want to end your day because of that. So
exactly
I think having backups of things that are essential to continuing the day are important. So I'm glad that you just brought that up. All right.
Yep. Okay. Now, last thing, the bag itself. Now, how important is your actual range bag, the bag part?
Right. Yeah.
There are really good range bags that I know Jared from Voodoo like pretty well.
Oh yeah.
Voodoo Tactical.
Jared.
The first like actually dedicated range bag I ever had was a Voodoo Tactical range bag, and it was awesome. It was the best range bag that I ever had, but I had it for so long and used it so much. And this is not an indictment on Voodoo Tactical's quality, but I just I really put this thing through its paces, and it started to fall apart. And he said that hey, we don't make that one anymore. And
hey, hold on there. You're frozen.
Yep, I know you are too.
Okay. This is weird. All right. We're going to see if Jamie comes back video wise. I can still see me moving. Jamie, you still with me?
Yep. And on my side, we're both frozen.
Okay. So I'm still good here. So folks, if you're at the end of this video and you see Jamie frozen and me not, it is what it is. We're going to keep going with the audio as we're wrapping up the episode here. So we will try and not.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. And he's back. All right. Go ahead. Voodoo Tactical. Sorry for the technical.
So the first range bag I ever had was this super awesome Voodoo Tactical one, but I used it so much that it was like starting to fall apart. And Jared was like, hey man, like I loved that range bag too, but we don't make it anymore. So they weren't even, they wouldn't even fix it for me because I really loved my range bag. But they do have another one, and he gave me one of these. And it actually is still available. It's the Voodoo Tactical Rhino range bag. So if you do want to invest in an actual tailor-made bag that is specifically meant to be a range bag, I highly recommend the Voodoo Tactical Rhino range bag. That's what I've been using now, and it is really great. It's a bigger bag, and it actually comes with like a smaller bag inside of it, which makes it perfect for competition because you can pull that little inner bag out and use that for like your ammo and put all the rest of the stuff in the bag. It's great. But other than that, like my dad for the longest time, he used the little bag that like came with a DeWalt cordless drill, and like that was his range bag, and that's totally fine. So you don't need a tailor-made range bag. You can probably find an old gem bag or an old duffel bag or a DeWalt drill bag, and it's going to be fine.
And exactly. I mean, if you bring a lot of stuff, you can go with a hard case, you can go with a range bag. There are a bunch of different ways you can do this. Vertex makes a range bag. I mean, the first gun store that I bought my first firearm at however many years ago sold me a range bag, and and I still have that range bag to this day. And there are still items in that range bag. It's more of a home bag right now, and it's stuffed with, rubber or the latex gloves, the cleaning stuff. There's all stuff in there, but there are a bunch of different options out there. You just got to choose the one that's right for you. And I think that's a common motif for everybody. Choose what is right for you. Do not take recommendations, read reviews, but find what works and just use it. Listening to your, that was the end of the list, right?
That's the end of my list.
Yeah.
Yep.
So listening to the items on that list and going and doing a mental checklist on my range bag. There are things that, a lot of things that are identical in there. I can tell you that in my range bag, what I have in there is some, it's a pistol holster and mag holsters with the tech lock on it, right? So I have those in there as kind of as a secondary if I decide to go to the range last minute and I don't want to bring the entire belt setup or whatnot. I still have a way to use the pistol and the mags by just slapping those on my belt. If you are going to the range to shoot your bolt action rifle with your scoped optic on it and you're shooting out the distance, make sure that you have a sandbag or whatever you're going to use to rest that. Those are all different range visits. And I think that goes back to that goes back to having a plan. And I think that covers it. Other than that, I think that's about it as far as things that you didn't highlight that I have in my bag. I'm just going back. I have the cleaning kit. There's a set of gloves, there's a tool in there, extra set of eyes. So yeah, man, I think that's a pretty good list. I would ask anybody that's listening to this, and if there's something on there that we didn't include and you think it's something that's important, put those in the comments below. Admittedly, I have not gone back and checked a lot of the comments, but I did. There's an app that I downloaded. It's called the Creator app for YouTube, and it allows me to go in and really see some comments. So we've seen some good comments on these videos, and I appreciate that. I believe that Jamie appreciates it just as much. There are some amazing comments on there, and then there's a couple that are just like, wow, okay. The internet's is a safe place for those tough guys out there. And everyone has their opinions and they're entitled to them, and they're kind of like armpits. So, some are great and some stink, but I love it. I love seeing the feedback and, keep those coming. So folks, as always, as we wrap up our weekly episodes, I like to say thank you for listening, for spending some of your time either listening or watching this video. We appreciate the feedback. I would also like to say today that the past 2 months, we've seen a uptick in new members and membership renewals. So that's great. That's awesome. Thank you again. You guys stay safe out there. And until next time, Jamie.
It's easy to be hard. It's hard to be smart. Go get training so that you can better develop your plan when you go to the range.
Awesome. All right, folks. Until next time, ZP002 out.